Hola, mi cuatro amigos, mi pequeño hermanos, el whiskies. Oh, hey, old programos. It's old Hankrin' Fernail here, speaking up for Drunkens and Dragons. And we're gonna take a little break from literally watching paint dry on this new forest piece I'm working on. And we're going to talk about how to play D&D like a big old badass. Magic and spells. And in particular, we're going to do a review of probably the finest tome that I've stumbled across in recent months, which is this bad boy. Boom! Dungeon Crawl Classics Core Rule Book. Actually, I could have used the effects in Premiere to do the echo, but I did it with my face. We're going to talk about the 4 reasons that you should use the magic and spell system and spell collection from Dungeon Crawl Classics instead of the D&D 5th edition spell collection. Or a lot of you are probably still using this book with your players. This is the old 3.5 edition spell compendium for D&D, which is a great book. So why Hankrin' Fernail, you ask? Why are you asking me to do some kind of complex hybridization of rules? My wizards are going to be mad, my clerics will be confused, and my rogues, well, the rogues in the group will be stuck in 5th edition land, and it's going to be terrible. Why Hankrin' Fernail? Okay, well, now the deal is, for each reason I give you of why you need to switch over your magic system, which includes cleric spells, druid spells, wizard spells, sorcerer spells, and yes, I dare speak forbidden words, spells cast by non-magic users. Wizards of the Coast product itemization executives just rolled over in their future graves just now. Here goes reason 1. The first reason you should change over your magic system in your D&D 5th edition campaign to Dungeon Crawl Classics is math scalability and scalability in general. Let's face it, you guys, D&D falls on its face after about 6th or 7th level. It tries so hard to keep everyone ascending mathematically. Everything gets insane. Everything is plus 10, plus 12, plus 14, plus 20. And then it's like nothing has a high enough armor class. Nothing has a high enough save DC. I have to make a room with a save DC of 25 to even be anything worth blinking at for a 9th level character. Now you're saying, man, my groups usually don't get to high level like that. You know, somebody has a baby, or like some guy moves to Liechtenstein and then the group falls apart and we never really get past 6th level. That is exactly what Wizards of the Coast and D&D wants to happen, because their game gets ridiculous. And besides, by then you've already bought the books, so you're dead to them. But you're smarter than that, because you watch Drunkens and Dragons, because you read everything you can get your hands on. You play D&D like a badass, so you're not going to go out like that, man. You're going to keep your group together and you're going to start getting into high levels. And you dungeon masters and you magic user players and clerics, all of you, you're going to very quickly realize shit be getting crazy when you're getting high level with Dungeons and Dragons. You're always looking up spells. It's impossible to use a character sheet because you're trying to write down spell details. It's very hard to remember what spells you've used, what you haven't used. Each spell has its own set of details and cases. The DM is pretty much useless to you, because I don't know about you guys out there, but I cannot track sets of spells for all my characters. It's too much. If I have a cleric and a wizard in my group, much less a 3rd magic user, a 4th, there's no chance. And then compile onto that, I want to fight him with a lich. I want to bring an undead wizard into the fold, or I want to just bring like some, road traveling wizard like in that old Wizards cartoon. He just shows up and he's just like, you know what, screw you, you guys aren't cool, can I have your spells? And you're like, what? And then boom, magic duel. What do I do with D&D? Well, we sit through a bunch of looking up spells and trying to figure out how much damage and what's the save and all that. And the higher level you get, the more there is to look up and the less you can remember it. So what's the solution, you ask, Hankerin? Well, I'll tell you what the solution is right here in this freaking awesome book. This book is so good, I can't even really show you, but the art is by some of the classic D&D masters. And this writer, Goodman, this guy has been around forever, and he is stone cold legit. It just took him a while to really get his own sense of the game and bring it out. If you don't have this book and aren't familiar with like some of his craziness, hook it up. But we're not going to talk about the whole book. We're going to talk about magic. He's got a super simple spell system. It's basically all just rolled on a success roll. So I'm rolling my spell level, and it is my dice roll plus my level and babuchki. Then success is variable, and you get all these awesomely written spell success variations. This book is huge, and a ton of it is dedicated to these success variations and fail variations. So magic becomes a highly detailed, highly story-centric piece of your game, rather than looking up how much damage freaking shatter does, or like you're getting annoyed at your wizard because he's using Ray of Frost cantrip like 50 times and you have to make up fake mechanics to get him to stop. That's not going to be part of it because he's got to roll every time and he's taking a risk every time. And the spells also have character. They have random components called mercurial components that kind of make them a little crazy and make them have crazy effects on people. Another great one, the memorization mechanic. You only lose memorization when you fail a cast. So if you succeed a cast, you cast again, baby. You succeed again, you cast again. But then you fail, you lose the spell. You crit fail, at least in my campaign, you can forget the spell forever. So what I'm gonna do is use 3x5 cards, get my spells on there, and the DM giveth and the DM taketh away. So you crit fail on a spell, we're gonna roll another table or we're gonna have a drink off or something, but you mess up, I'm gonna take that 3x5 card away. You ain't casting fireball anymore. So, whoa. I asked my magic user in my group, my main wizard, we have a cleric too, but I asked the wizard, I said, dude, I got a magic system change coming. Are you okay with that? I don't want to mess up your character progression. You know the player's handbook really well. You know, you're a bookkeeper as a wizard and like, I want to keep the magic. I said, what's the most important thing about your wizard character? He said that he's always seeking more knowledge. That's the best response I could have hoped for. Instead of like, well, I just want to make sure that my high level spell is, continues to be high damage. No! It's the story, man. It's the flavor. That's what matters about the characters. So if you make these kind of transitions with your characters, be sure that you're smart about retaining the things they love most about those characters so that their agency, as we say in the game, is preserved. If I barely succeed at this spell, like one of my fingers disappears. So I'm gonna think twice about that. Or, the oath I made to the demon in my past is he comes a-knocking and I have to pay up. And, more intense stuff like this. So it's gonna be really exciting. We're going to change over to this system and it's gonna be great. That's reason one, scalability. You can go to very high levels and continue to access higher and higher level spells and still have the interesting component of what's going to happen, how much are you going to succeed at your spell, and the amount of information you need to remember when using this system is extremely small. It's a little 2-line entry. The rest all comes in the success description. So it does put a little bit in the DM, but this is going to be a fun moment, and it's also going to put more pressure on spellcasting. Okay, whew. Scalability, that was our first one. Reason number 2, that you want to use the spell system in Dungeon Crawl Classics rather than your 5th edition D&D or your old throwback spell compendium spells that your D&D players are getting used to. Reason 2 is, how do I put this into words? Well, discovery of magic. for beginning players generally. Really, I assume you guys have all been playing for ages, played several different systems, and the reason you're on YouTube watching garbage like this, looking at my mess, is that you want to take it to a higher level. Now that's probably going to be true of most of your players. Every group needs a new player. It adds magic to the game. But I'm going to assume a lot of you are playing with people who have played for years. This is their third, fourth, fifth, even sixth or seventh group. And these guys know the game, especially if they're D&D, loyalists and they don't wander around playing different systems. They know the game really well. They know that at fourth level they're going to get a stat boost. They know, about how all the skill systems work. They know about proficiency bonus, which by the way is the dumbest part of 5th edition. But they generally know the game. And especially if you get a wizard and he's a very well-read player, he knows the spells backward and forward. And honestly, nothing could be more counter to the nature of magic in the story of your game. Magic shouldn't be like a blaster pistol. Magic shouldn't be like a sword. A sword is a simple, reliable symbol of purity and function. Magic is a quest for forbidden knowledge. Magic is forces beyond the human realm that can't be comprehended, that create effects that are impossible to imagine. If you want that mystery to be reinfused back into your game, use a newer magic system and spell set. Now, a lot of these spells are derivative from classic D&D spells. I mean, Fireball is in here. You need Fireball. You're going to have, greater healing. You're going to have stuff like that. But exactly what happens and exactly what the costs are and what the toll is going to be, it's gone for a lot of players. Now you'll have, maybe there's, one in many players who knows this book very well, but this is new stuff. This is from 2011, 2012. So if you cast Fireball and you have a crit success, or better yet, well, no, I don't want to get into reason 3. If you cast Fireball in D&D, you get Fireball. You cast Fireball here, a number of different things can happen. A good example, there's a great spell in here called Control Fire. One of the higher level rolls is a wave of fire sweeps across the landscape and destroys towns and just utterly scorches the world. That doesn't happen in D&D. You can't really push yourself to that level. So renew the mystery and unpredictability of magic and give a wizard a chance to learn again the feeling of surprise, shock, terror, joy as he experiments with magical forces. Using this system, it's so damn simple. It's also going to be much easier for you to build and design spells. Place them in your world, make them higher level than your wizard. It pushes him into a chase to get a higher level so that he can access the new spells. And you guys all know the basics that way, how to motivate players. We don't even need to get into that here. So, if you want to rejuvenate the mystery of magic in your game, the DCC core rulebook has everything you need. I'm sure these guys already maybe have a spells only book, but I'm sure they'll come out with one soon. They have tons of books. Go to Goodman Games, buy all their products. These guys are amazing. Okay, that was reason number 2, the mystery of magic. Reason number 3, pushing yourself. In D&D, you generally push yourself by gaining advantage, and in the subsequent roll, using advantage to ensure success. As a magic user, especially using saving throws, there's not a lot of ways to push the effects over the top. And yet in all our favorite wizard moments, the crushing of the amulet from Dragon Slayer that makes him explode, Gandalf making his stand on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, in these classic wizard moments, they push themselves beyond the limits of what they would consider their mortal bodies, and they pay a terrible price. You want to do that in your game. The DCC spell system gives you at least a framework of how to do it. They call it spell burn. It means you can burn ability or hit points to push the bonus on your spell check higher and higher to get a bigger effect. You guys have all seen this. This is just like Raistlin from the old Dragonlance novels. He pushed his magic so far, he wound up with this never-ending sickness. And this is what you want to come back into your magic user's game. So here's to reason number 3, pushing yourself. That fourth one's going to be interesting. Now, DCC comes with a whole big kit of cool rules about luck, about burning luck, about using spell burn in detail, recovering spell burn and all that stuff, and I highly recommend that you get a good command of the concepts. If you want, go ahead and translate the concepts. They translate quite easily into a D&D campaign with D&D characters. But the better thing to do is to fully understand the framework with which he is exacting cost on players to get big results. So you want this feeling of, you gotta pay, mofo. You want the big stuff, you got to pay. Now you're gonna have to do some other key things to balance your campaign when you do this. Don't give out quite so many magic items and scrolls as loot. Don't do it. They will overpower, so be careful. Just like the magic user, the dungeon master has to be careful with formless and ascending power magic. It can be very unpredictable and highly powerful if the character is willing to make a huge sacrifice for a massive spell cast. Which, if you ask me, one massive spell cast at huge cost in a play session is a million times cooler than 20 the small time spell casts. It's not cool. So let your characters push themselves by understanding the spell burn concept that comes in Dungeon Crawl Classics. There's subtleties to understand here. And definitely read some of the follow-up tables, which are like, consequences of overburn. And you can't recover burn as long as if you burn again the next day. And any day that you burn, you won't recover, blah, 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 blah. You need only the rules that you need. But what it's going to give you is a way to not only control your wizards, control the number of spells they have, but also release control. So if I give my wizard Fireball because he found it in a dungeon, I damn well be ready for the day that he brings his strength to 2 to get an additional plus 11 onto his roll. You guys see how the math works. I got to be ready as the DM for that to happen. Frankly, I would rather have that happen than they, have the water elemental summoned and beat my bullet. But whatever, I think you get the point. Pushing yourself. So with clerics, similar system, you're just using charisma rather than intelligence, just like all the classics. But you're going to do the same thing. The cleric is begging his god for one mighty thunderclap rather than 20 little pew pew cantrips. Just get ready for this, you guys. I am abolishing cantrips in my campaign. Screw cantrips. All right, it's just magic spam. And it cheapens the world. I can't remember what novel it was. It might have been one of the Dragonlance novels. There was actually a magical fan in a room that cooled the room. And I thought to myself, wow, they have really reached the bottom of the barrel here, because magic is so banal that they cast a spell on a fan so it'll keep them cool. Come on, guys. Let's not have magic get banal. Okay. Whew. This minigame isn't so easy, is it? For you, it's probably completely effortless. Reason number 4, why do you want to adopt the magic system and spell collection found in this incredibly gigantic and super cool book that you should totally buy? I think it's $50, no, $40. This is so worth $40. It's cheaper than a D&D book and you get quadruple the content, and it's better content. Sorry, D&D, it's just true, just deal. Goodman's on his game, so support the guy. Reason number 4 that you should adopt this. I think I know what it is. I mean, you probably think I have all these videos planned, but it's completely made up as I'm literally watching the brown sponge paint on this piece dry while I do the video. So, it's multitasking. Reason number 4 that you should get Dungeon Crawl Classics and seriously consider adopting their spell and magic system. It gives you a great excuse to buy an awesome book and get back to the engaging part of being a dungeon master. Me, Jamie. The cool part about being a dungeon master is not managing. It's not adjudicating. It's not making sure. It's not moderating. It's not keeping things in line. That's not why you're here, guys. You're here because it's awesome to research. It's awesome to learn about more fantasy concepts and become a better storyteller, a better writer, and to train the imagination. The imagination's like any other muscle in the body. You have got to use it if you want it to get bigger and awesomer and stronger. So, I know dungeon masters as well as players who've been rocking this stuff so long, they get in a little bit of a habit where they put a quarter in the D&D machine and they move the stick and hit the buttons and go home. It's pretty damn fun because Golden Axe is pretty damn fun. But the joy of D&D is learning. And as a dungeon master, you learn a lot from the reactions of your players in the context of what you've imagined for them. You learn a lot about human behavior, you learn a lot about story structure, you learn a lot about baiting. You learn a lot about yourself as a designer, as a game designer. But there's also a more raw form of learning, which is saying, I'm not done here. I'm not satisfied. It's not enough. I need a rush of junk to keep me going. And you guys know me. I'm just like scooping up whatever I can find and I try to absorb it as quickly as I can. And if a concept is really potent, like some of the Dungeon World stuff, it's in the damn game. And then learn, adapt, grow. You get this book. If you read in earnest and have an open heart and open imagination, as I hope you have, because you play D&D like a badass, there's no way your game is not going to change. It's just like Dungeon World. If you really read Dungeon World with an open mind, there's no way your game won't change. They're revolutionary ideas. We're not just playing something from the 70s so that we can think we're cool, because the 70s are cool. That's not what we're doing. The old school Renaissance, as it's known, is only a Renaissance because there were some high-grade ideas back then. But to take them, rejuvenate them, and rebuild them, and rewrite them makes them even better. And so we've reviewed a couple of things lately, Basic Fantasy and Marca del Este, which are trying to sort of capture some of this older flavor. But I can tell you guys, hands down, unequivocally, Dungeon Crawl Classics, especially their core book, and I think they have a new cool like black version of the book you can get to, captures and innovates upon the original root concepts better than anything I've seen, especially better than Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I said it. And my whole channel is named after D&D. I mean, I'm wearing like my D&D t-shirt like to the gym in the morning. Like, I'm D&D to the core. But D&D to me has become a term for tabletop gaming. Even when we're playing this, I'm not going to sit down and say, okay guys, let's play some DCC. That's not going to happen. That sounds like we're reading Batman comics. And nobody reads Batman comics. So there you go. Reason number 4. It gives you an excuse to get an awesome, huge new book, and as a dungeon master, continue to learn, evolve, and incorporate new concepts. Now, I've gone on a little too long, but it takes a while to have 4 big shots of Jameson. So, I want you to get out there. I want you to get a copy of DCC, and please post in the comments what you discovered in the book that you like best, because I'm really interested to see what people think. Get more of a discussion going around Dungeon Crawl Classics. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the long ranting video. We'll put some background music on here. Everything's going to work out. Don't forget, the tip button is going to appear at some point during the video. Please drop $1 in the bucket, and we will keep working on better equipment for the channel and buying books with tips from the channel. Remember, give me that thumbs up, post down below, and I'll see you out on the interwebs or in the Underdark. And it looks like my paint is about dry, so I'm gonna go get my little green powder and I'm gonna start making some grassy knolls, yo. All right, strength, honor, and Jameson. Peace.